What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down some very important levels to be watching for, what's happening with the news affecting the markets, what's happening with the news involving Tesla and the economic calendar, and how the charts are looking approaching today. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. Right now, SPY is attempting to get a bullish breakup. We're going to be watching some key levels just to be safe. I'll be breaking down a very important level to be watching for and how this could end up affecting SPY. But first, let's talk about the markets, break down some other important things to be watching for before we get into any charts. So I just want to mention that for earnings, in the morning, we just had Hertz come out, not to mention Spotify and just a couple of others. After the market closes, we have Snap, not to mention Ford. And then on Wednesday, we have Alibaba and PayPal. So make sure you're prepared for these earnings, especially for PayPal and Disney coming out for Wednesday. But for today, so far, we just had Hertz come out, and Hertz did relatively well. They actually, not well, sorry, they were very mixed, if anything. They missed earnings by $1.33, but revenue topped estimates, and guidance was kind of mixed as well. So not the strongest of earnings from them, kind of mixed here and there. Something's good, something's not so great. So very mixed, and that's kind of like all I'm going to go over for now, since the rest of the earnings are very minor. For economic data, I just want to mention that at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Economic Optimism Index reports, and total household debt is also coming out at 11 a.m. This is all once again in Eastern Standard Time. So 30 minutes after the market opens, watch the Economic Optimism report to cause some volatility. Then at 11 o'clock a.m., that total household debt could also affect us. We also have Mester, Kashkari, and Collins from the Fed all giving their speeches starting at noon. And it's going to be throughout the day. So make sure you're prepared for this. Make sure you're ready for whatever is necessary, because this could cause some moves in the markets here and there, but likely nothing too crazy. For Tesla stock is down again. Because of more downgrades from analysts and rates and other things like that. So we're getting a lot of negative headlines again. So I just want to break down Tesla a little bit later on. Let's first talk about SPY here. SPY is attempting to get a bullish break from this pennant that's been forming. We got a tightening of price action. We're attempting to get a breakout early on. But here are some things you have to be watching for. First and foremost, we have a little resistance at 493.5, but I think the real test is going to be at 494, which is the previous high right here. If we're bullish, we want to see SPY. It could come down to grab liquidity and start pushing back up. We want to break above 494. That's where this high is right over here. If we break above this, like this, you want to see it basically hold above 494. If it manages to achieve that, it's going to likely test this high again. And we're going to be looking for a nice move to the upside as the days go on. But I also want to add that up here, we have our 500 level up here. We could be pushing much higher towards the new all-time highs to get closer to 500 if we manage to hold above 494. But if we're bearish, if you're a big bear in the markets, you think, it's not time for us to run yet, the market needs to tank. If you believe that, it's always a possibility. You need to see SPY come down in this pennant and then break below it. And you want to see 492.5 basically be lost. If we lose that, 491.5 is the next support. We want to lose the 491 area. But you have to remember, yesterday we broke it, but then we got bought back up. So you're going to be watching, do we get bought back up like this to recover if we were to fall below 491, or do we hold below 491? If we hold below 491, close below that, that's going to be a more bearish signal, and then we can start sinking into like the 488 area. So you need us to lose 491 and close below it and hold below it for us to remain bearish. Yesterday, we did fall below it, but we got bought back up, and we ended up getting a good close. So it's not officially favoring the bearish just because we broke below it. We need to hold below it and close below the key levels. So what do I think is going to pan out? What do I think is more probable? The answer is, I think there's a very good chance SPY might come down, grab liquidity, and then try pushing up higher. I think there's going to be an attempt to fight and try to break 494. So we're going to be watching for that. And we might end up breaking it sooner than expected. So I do favor that a little bit more looking at the charts. But just to be safe, let's just wait and see if we get confirmation of this breakout. Watch that 494 resistance. If we break that, we could be pushing towards this high later on. If we lose 492.5, watch 491.5, and 491 is a critical support. What about for Tesla? How is Tesla stock looking? It's going to be very important that we essentially go over this. So for Tesla, real quick, if we're bullish, you want to see this thing basically push back up and try to fill this gap up here in this 180 area. So a nice push like this. And you want to retest this yellow trend line and try to break above it if you want to become bullish. So it's going to look something like this. See how we had this yellow trend line rejected many times? You want to break above that and start pushing up higher for Tesla to turn bullish. For Tesla to be bearish, you want to see it basically, it's very simple, basically lose 175 and just continue to hold below that. Then we're going to be sinking to 172 and 170. What do I think Tesla's going to do? Well, for the last couple of days, it kind of fell as we opened. So there's a chance we might see Tesla drop a little bit, then bounce and grab liquidity, try to push up later on during the day to fill this gap, and then come back down. So I think it might sell off a little bit, push back up, try to fill this gap, come back down, and then trade sideways around this range. That's what I'm most likely am seeing for Tesla. So lots of sideways price action. For the QQQ, we look bullish. We have a potential bullish setup because we have a bullish wedge that is forming on the triple Q. So this could be potentially bullish for it, but we have to see if there's a confirmation breakout. So the bullish case is like this, how we have this wedge that's forming like this. Usually you want to see a breakout like this. That's like what technicals do suggest, a breakout like that. That's what the wedge is suggesting. But if we're bearish, you want to see it basically lose 427 and then eventually 425. If we end up losing 425 or closing below that range, we're going to turn more bearish. So we want to be watching this confirmation if we hold above this yellow trend line. I'm thinking that it might kind of like come down and trade sideways, and the most likely possibility is we will eventually get that breakout, especially because this also resembles like an inverse head and shoulders, and we have a bullish wedge being respected. So there's a good chance the QQQ will get a breakout. It might be because of Nvda or Aapl. So I do favor the bulls a little bit more. We want to see if we could break above 430. If we manage to break that and close, or not close, but hold above it, we could be looking for 432 next, and eventually 434. So it has a bullish looking setup, but just to be safe, watch for confirmation. Always be very patient and know that never be overconfident. You want to be waiting just to see. For Nvda managed to reach the magic $700 a share. But when we watch to see if we could break above this to push up towards 709 or so, 708, 709. If we break that, could be pushing up towards 712 and eventually get close to 720. For bearish, we want to see it come down to 692. If we lose that, there's 687 and 685. I think that's going to reject right here, come down a little bit, grab liquidity at 692, then start pushing back up. I think there's going to be a fight for 700. We might see some sideways price action, but eventually there could be an attempt to break above the 700s. So Nvidia is still looking very strong. There's no sign of it getting a big rejection yet. I do think there's going to be tight resistance at 700, though, and we'll have to see how it holds. Might come down at first and then attempt to break out later, so watch that very carefully. Last but not least, we have Aapl stock, the one and only notorious Aapl. Aapl has a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure, still holding up nicely. It's kind of consolidating right here, so I'm going to be looking to see if this thing could retrace just a little bit towards the breakout area. If we lose 187.5, watch 186.5, then a bounce potential. It might come down just a bit, then bounce and start pushing up above 189. If we break 189, we could be pushing towards 190.5. So in my eyes, I think that this structure looks bullish. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders, could retrace a little bit and eventually break out. I do favor that. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to end the video from here. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.